Alexandra, we are at the Prague Chess Festival here. You guys streamed all your games. You played in the open. How was it for you?
Well, my chess didn't go as I'd hoped. That being said, I knew I was really rusty from classical chess, but the experience was awesome. I enjoyed playing chess, and the streams were really popular, so I was really happy about that.
Yeah, there were some amazing numbers, right? You were sharing on Instagram. I think you averaged like 20k viewers on each platform.
Well, 20k in total.
In total.
But honestly, still great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, how was your performance overall? You scored how many points?
I had a bad tournament. I only scored 3.5 out of 9, and honestly, I didn't even want to play classical chess without studying because I tilt so bad when I lose. That being said, I think the score doesn't necessarily reflect my performance. I had some games that were like one move offs after playing the entire of the game really well. So hopefully I could redeem myself at Iceland, where I'm going to be playing next.
But this is so brave, right? Like, because you were a chess player, you played professionally, but then at some point you stopped playing and you were into streaming. So coming back over the board must not be easy.
Yeah, so I mean, I always say professional chess players when you make your living playing chess. I grew up playing competitive chess, and I took it, pretty seriously until I was like 15, 16, 17, and then I got into college, and then my focus completely shifted. That being said, I'm still a really competitive person. So I actually did a lot of mental prep going into the tournament and accepting that, like, hey, if you haven't played classical chess, you might not get the results you want at the start, but that's okay.
And you're going next to another event. So when you sort of have time now that a tournament is coming up, how do you plan your days? Do you work on your chess? Because there are so many other things which must also be on your agenda.
Yeah, I mean, during this chess tournament, half the time we had to work on content and other work calls. Like, even at the chess tournament, we couldn't be completely focused all the time, and that was really hard. But now I'll have a week before the next tournament, so I'll probably review some chess, but like, honestly, there's still a lot of other work that has to be done. So most of the chess training that we can do is while we're at the actual tournament, preparing for opponents and things like that. And, the way I see it is like, we're playing chess and that's amazing, but at the end of the day, like, our content is business, so even if we're playing chess, we have to keep up with that. We have to keep up with planning the other things as well,
It's actually very interesting the way you sort of perceive your role in the chess world, and I saw that you put it out that you're trying to sort of grow the sport, right? Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, I think that's correct to say. And a lot of people always get upset, like, oh, like, she's only 2100 rated or whatever, I'm rated in the US, and people get really offended that we have this following. But it's like, professional chess players spend their time on chess. Their priority, they might want the game to grow, but so many professional players don't even want to do extra interviews or anything like that. It's not their priority. And I'm someone who's still spent like over a decade of my life having chess as one of my top priorities, and it was always a game that I really loved. And for most people who play chess, they're not going to be these top high-level professionals. And like, I had it fun playing chess, even though I haven't played for a long time, and it still helps with things even if you're not a pro. Like, for me, I am just so addicted to being on multiple social platforms at the same time because I work across them. But being able to sit down and play chess for 4 or 5 hours and get my focus back is such a gift, and I want more people to be able to do that, even if they're not these high-level chess players. That's important as well.
So when you are playing chess, you feel it's like somehow you're focusing on one thing.
Yes, it's so nice. It's so much easier to play chess than to do other stuff. But of course, also because I have less expectations and I know it's different now if I'm not getting the results I wanted to. But it almost feels like a kind of meditation where it's so nice. This is all you have to focus on for that allotted period of time.
Right. And when it comes to your life away from the chess board, you say you juggle many things. What are the things that go into it? Because okay, clearly I am also into content creation, but I go to tournaments, I cover them. For you, it's a lot about trying to figure out. I follow your content on the YouTube channel. It's a lot about created with great care. Like they are not videos that come out, let's say, one a day or two a day, but let's say once 10 days or something. So how do you think as a content creator?
Well, we recently kind of adopted a new strategy where we're trying to focus a lot more on higher quality videos, and honestly, we've been reinvesting basically everything we make back into our content team right now. So we have some really exciting videos coming up, but we're spending a lot of time behind the scenes that, you know, people are not going to be able to see for a while, but people will see the videos coming out over time, trying to kind of find new ways to tell the story and actually make it interesting, and innovate again. It's so hard to stay innovating as a content creators because things get stale so quickly, and sometimes you just get into the routine of doing things that used to work when it doesn't make sense anymore. And that's something that had happened with us on Twitch as well, where we'd be streaming 4 or 5 times a week just because it's what we used to do. But we recently, like 4 weeks ago now, decided, hey, we're not doing that anymore because we want to have this time to spend on focusing on bigger content. So these streams were actually the first we did after 3 weeks of not streaming. I was like, are people still going to remember anything? Are they still going to tune in? Is this going to work? And people came back for the classical chess, which was incredible. And the other time we spent not streaming, we went to chess tournaments, and we filmed videos that we put like a really cool budget for that are going to be coming out on our channel soon. We involved a lot of other chess personalities. So, you know, we're trying again. We're trying to innovate, and nobody's going to see the work behind the scenes, but I feel pretty confident that by the end of the year, people will be like, oh, why are they popping off again? And it's going to be because of like a lot of work that nobody saw.
But it is mainly about building your team, building a content creation strategy, and then sort of trying to execute it. Would that be right to say?
That's part of it. So we have spent quite a bit of time building our content team and trying to get into something that is more sustainable and has less, involvement from us day to day, so that we could be part of the high level stuff, but also be able to delegate things. But on top of that, it's been kind of just a shift in how we think about content as well, because in the past, IRL chess matches used to just work, but now like there really has to be a story for it to be interesting to people, which I understand. But even on top of that, we're trying to figure out how more of like these interesting concepts can work for chess as well. So to give you an example of one of our upcoming videos, we did kids versus adults for $10,000, and we got like 3 genius kids, and we put them on a team, and then we put me, my sister, and one other adult on the team, and we're like, hey kids, if you beat us, you guys get 10K. Where's that 10K coming from? Our freaking savings, because we're like putting everything back in here. And we were trying to learn from like these other YouTubers like Mr. Beast, who would take all these things and reinvest back. And the reason why we had to do 10K is because like that's the kind of title or thumbnail or stakes that people care about. Like the kids were actually like, oh my god, like that's such a big prize, and it actually caused real emotions. And obviously like using money to cause real emotions is kind of a shortcut. I want to figure out better ways to do it in the future. But these are the kinds of things that we're trying to do, that we're trying to figure out. The other thing that I really want to figure out how to do is how to sort of tell the story of competitive chess, which is why we're competing again, because I don't think you can tell a story without actually experiencing it, even when it's something I grew up in. Because what I love the most about chess, other than the game growing up, were the personalities. Like in chess, you have geniuses who are idiots at the same time, and it's so funny. And I just think that if the world could see this, it would bring even more attention to chess, because when the pie grows, it's better for everybody. Got a lot of ideas, but just have to figure out how to do everything.
No, this is very interesting what you mentioned, because imagine even a tournament like, let's say, the candidates or the world championship. It's so exciting for chess players, but it's so dull otherwise for people who are just mildly interested, because it's very long.
It is, and you don't even know the personalities. Like the reason why me and my sister got more views on our live stream here than the Masters did is, I know the haters will be like, oh, it's because they're women and that's why the only reason people watch them. It's not just that. It's because people watch our stream and it feels like when you're cheering for your favorite soccer team. Like the commentator is biased, but you're following the entire story. You know these people. People don't just watch us when we go online. When we go online, we get like 3,000 views. But when there's this overarching story and we do something like a tournament, that's why it shoots up. It takes a lot more than that. And I just wish that we could tell more of these stories of these top players. But the ironic thing is, like, a lot of these top players don't even want to bother to do a 5-minute chess game where we show their personality. So, it's a challenge.
But in a way, let's say when you talk about growing the pie and getting more sponsors into chess, how can that happen for, let's say, big events? Because that's clearly something that the chess world is struggling, but you guys have been successful doing that. For your streams, I always see that there are some sponsors who are willing to support. What do you think is lacking?
So the reason why we get sponsors is because of views. Basically, it's a model where sponsors know if you have an audience, this is how many people we have to show it through. So obviously some chess tournaments have more sponsors because of that. And of course, there's also the sponsors who don't care about the business model and they're just doing this because they care about chess, and that's awesome, but that's not sustainable for everybody, right? So even when I was looking at the numbers of the Masters and the Creator Tournament, I was like, I wish there was some way we could link this. Like, I wish the Masters tournament or started a little bit later so that when our stream ends, we can send our viewers to the Master. I wish there was more collaboration and support between the creators and these top players, because we have to bridge the gap somehow. And that's something that I had been thinking about. And I've also been talking about it with like some of our partners like chess.com. But there has to be more willingness and openness on the top player side as well.
So do you see your role now as growing, let's say, your brand, which is Botezlive, and you and your sister do brilliant work? Or is it about growing chess? I mean, you can't differentiate the two, because, like, let's say you grow, chess also grows in some ways, but the approach would be different in both cases.
I think both are important, but it's also kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, there's a certain thing you have to do first, where, like, our numbers took a dip recently, and that was really painful, and it kind of just sucked for a while because we'd be trying so many things and they just wouldn't be working. So first we had to be like, we need to fix what we're doing. And initially we were just chasing views, but we had this realization that we killed the artist while, trying to appease the algorithm. And that's not long-term sustainable. So the first shift we made is like, we're not doing content unless it's something we really like.
But that's actually very sort of difficult, right? Because at some point something's working, but it's not fulfilling your soul.
Yep.
But to kill it means that you then have to find something different, which you like, which is not easy.
No, it's not. But you have to take a really big step and think like, is this what I want to be spending my time on? And for a while I would just do things because I thought I needed to, but now I'm trying to do the things that I like and also the things that are working, like trying it. Like, I wanted to play classical chess, and now that the numbers are good, that's awesome. We could play even more. I love this. It makes me happy. I like playing chess. Like, what? I get to play chess for fun, and now it's not even terrible if I lose? That's a great thing. But to go back to answer your question, I would love to do both, but I'm also one person who's like kind of limited, so I need partners who believe in it, and I need acceptance from the chess world that this is important, because otherwise it's an uphill battle. Like, it feels bad when you're trying to do things and people don't think there's any importance in it. But I would love to do things like that. I would love to pass over our viewers to a high-level tournament. I would love to do something where like there's some kind of relation so that people learn both stories. I would love to have more time with the players to be able to tell their stories, but people need to actually give a fuck about this, to put it correctly. We can't just have players who think like the interviews are not important because it's going to impact their chess. There has to be a responsibility.
But when you talk about this acceptance at tournaments, what does that entail?
Acceptance at tournaments, I think, is a willingness from organizers and commentary teams to find some way to work together with the content creators, and in a way that also treats them with respect. That's to TLDR it.
Yeah, I think.
Got another big. Okay.
Oh, good idea. Well, that's awesome. Like, we have top players and they're here to do things, and that's awesome, and I really appreciate it. And in general, like, if tournament organizers reached out and there was like some high level event going and they could help us like get some time with the players and they wanted to do a specific story and there's also stuff we could do, this is stuff we're really open to and we want to figure out how to do. The only thing I will note is like sometimes people come up with ideas and it's clear it's not going to do well, and if we're saying no to something, it's like, cause we don't want to waste time. We have limited time, so we want to work on the things that are actually going to have some kind of impact.
And you know, once we spoke, you had mentioned something very important. You said that this is not worth my time. So what does that mean? What do you think is worth your time in general when you get into things? And I think this is a very interesting thing, right? Like you value your time very immensely.
Yes.
So as of now, would going to tournaments, playing, streaming would be good for your time, or what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed playing this tournament. I think the people who were watching enjoyed it, and some of the comments were like, I don't even play chess and I like watching this commentary, and I thought that was awesome. We also had the opportunity to film with some, top level players. Like you were there, we played with Vidit, and he was such a good sport about it, and it was awesome. And there's so many, and we also just filmed something with, the world's youngest grandmaster and telling his story, and I think that's awesome, and I love doing things like this. So yes, we want to play more tournaments. Obviously, we have to balance it so we don't get burnt out. But that is something I want to do, and I don't want to just go play tournaments. We're going there and we're filming anything that's interesting and behind the scenes. I want to go to tournaments and figure out like how long term we can tell the story of like, here, this is what it's like to go to competitive chess and all these things. When Queen's Gambit came out, it made chess much more popular to the world. It increased the viewer pool, and so much of chess grew as a result. And I think it just goes to show, like, when you change the story and people see more about the game, more people want to play it. And on top of that, I think chess is good for people, even if you're not a pro. Like, for me, being able to focus again is incredible. Like, there's so many benefits. This is a game we should absolutely be spreading, but how do you do it in a way that people care? It has to be in a way that audiences receive it. So, we're trying to learn a little bit of both, chess and the content side, and I only scored 3.5 out of 9, and I feel really bad about that. But at the same time, it's been a crazy year in terms of content. We've made so many different changes, and to at least be able to do this and see that there is appetite for it from an audience that actually cares about chess made me happier than anything else.
My general understanding is that if you guys sort of start streaming at home and you do things which are popular, that would be financially more rewarding than, let's say, traveling to tournaments and taking all these risks and sort of putting yourself on the line playing chess. So
I love taking risks though. I'm a gambling woman. I think the worst risk in life is to take no risks at all. And I mean, yeah, it was a risk. Once again, we stopped streaming for like 3 weeks leading up to this tournament because we decided we only want to stream bigger events. We're working on this tournament. We're also working on organizing bigger chess events that will hopefully also help with things like that. And like the more, it is a little bit of a risk, but as long as like people are interested in the story and we can keep telling it, we'll keep doing it basically. Like, if we were playing tournaments and that stopped being interesting, then it's our job as storytellers to be like, this is not interesting anymore, how do we change it?
But would you say chess remains like the complete focus, because you do some other streams as well, but do you think that chess is something that deeply connects to you?
I have been playing chess since I was 6 years old. My dad taught me. He learned from my grandma. I'm going to teach my kids. My sister plays. And it's one of the things in the world that I have been doing basically my entire life. It's one of the things that provided so many benefits for me growing up, even if they weren't just necessarily in the competition sphere, but skills that I learned. And there are only so many people in the world who have spent as much time on chess content as I have, that it's like, if you want to be a true expert in the world, be an expert at the intersection of something, because there's a lot fewer people who are able to do both. And I like to think of what I do as like, is there going to be impact? Do I have talent at it? And can I make a living? And chess is at the intersection of all three of those. Do we also do other things? Yes, of course. You know, I've been getting really into poker because poker is the first game I've truly loved other than chess. Playing poker tournaments reminds me so much of playing chess at the start. And I'm going to continue doing that at the same time, but chess is still going to be the priority. You know, it's still the baby. And like even outside of content, I've been working with a team on like a new innovative chess game that kind of like uses chess essentials and builds off of it, that I think would be a really great way for people to learn the rules of chess, get into it in a way that's a little bit less intimidating, and then go play chess itself. So I'm not just approaching it from one angle, but again, I don't want to oversell things. I just want to let the results speak for themselves. But all I can say is that like I'm really trying to find all of the interesting ways to do it.
And when you meet people outside the chess ecosystem, like you said about Mr. Beast, and I have heard a lot of his interviews, in his interviews, he has this single-minded focus that he wants to create the best videos that exist on YouTube. And it's such a refreshing approach, because many people say that, oh, we want to create videos, use YouTube as a sort of platform to jump to other things. So what is it that you learn that now you would like to apply in chess per se from these creators?
Yeah, I mean, so we actually started thinking about content very differently. We're really just trying to figure out how can we tell the best content possible. And I'll just keep referring back to the video that I already explained, since if anyone's still listening at this point, they'll probably remember it. But we basically think first of thumbnail and title. So that's why we actually ripped off Kids versus Adults from Mr. Beast, because he had this banger thumbnail where on one side of it there was kids and the other were adults. And we're like, this would be so funny if we could do this with chess. So we're like, okay, let's do this with chess. There has to be some kind of stakes. Just Kids versus Adults isn't a good enough title. Kids versus Adult for $1,000, no one's gonna care. $5,000, that doesn't sound good. $10,000, do we have time to get a sponsor? No. Andrea, look, I think there's about like a 50% chance we lose to this kid. So like the cost is going to be kind of like an unexpected 5K. Let's say we make 2K back from revenue, 3K to spend on this video. Are you down? Oh, I don't know, Alex. That sounds kind of like a bad idea. So, you know, like we're deliberating this internally. We also have to build a crew. Where are we even going to get these talented kids from? Oh, I know. Chess Kid is throwing this festival in Charlotte. Why don't we go and then film there for the weekend? Let's do it. So like that's kind of how we ideate, and then it's like, okay, we don't want to just go into the game. We have to build characters. People need to actually care about who they're watching. Let's get these kids to do some interviews. Can we get the kids to like walk into the room in a funny way and like talk about it? Like, that's the kind of process we go through. We ended up scripting the entire thing.
This is like one video is like an entire event, kind of.
Yes.
It takes like maybe a month of your life.
Yes, and like you have to pay an entire crew to do it, come up with this, pay the editors who are like doing multi-cameras, get everything back from Charlotte, fly our team over. So we filmed 4 videos like this while we were at the Charlotte Chess Kid, and at the same time we also did a meet and greet, gave some talks, things like that. So like basically you work 12, 14-hour days, hope to come up with something good. We also took other popular concepts while we were there, like Hot Ones does extremely well on YouTube in general. Like, what if we do this with chess players? So we took Danny and we're like, okay, let's clickbait, like, we asked Chess.com CEO the spiciest questions. Like, let's really dig into him. Like, Danny, why did you let Hans Niemann back? Really, how many cheaters does Chess.com catch? And by the way, eat this very spicy sauce while you're replying at it. Sorry about your stomach. So, basically what we're trying to do now is pay a lot of attention to videos that do well. Why are they doing well? What can we learn from them? And do the old yoink and twist. Take a concept and try to apply it to chess. And again, we're only able to do that because like I've been streaming for 5 years, and what people don't know, I actually started making chess content when I was 16 on Facebook. Like I've been doing this for over 10 years. And it is something I'm excited about. And I think you have to get the storytelling right. And that's something we're spending not just a lot of time on, a lot of money on, like so much focus. And I think we can get there. And my big dream is still to find a way to tell the story of competitive chess and like highlight these personalities. And maybe I won't be able to do it. Maybe I'll try and I'll be like, you know what, this is not the way. But at least I tried. And part of putting out these things to life is like the process of iterating and trying and learning. And, you know, like 5 years from now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be like 10x better storyteller. And if you learn how to spread the memes of communication, you could do anything. And
also these top players, if they start to sort of collaborate, I think it would...
If top players started doing content and like telling their personalities and people actually cared about these top players, how many more people would watch these events?
but for them doing content is tough because what you plan, but like spending some time with you guys is playing chess is maybe more interesting for them rather than.
I hope so. And like, I want to make it as easy as possible. I don't want to take a ton of their time. I don't want to make them do things that is useless for them. I want to be like, hey, give me 30 minutes of your time and I'll think of like the most impactful thing we could use that on. That's all I need. Anything you want to get out there? Great. Any ideas? No, that's fine. We'll come up with them. Just give us your time.
So this year, let's say 2024, and maybe the upcoming, we will see you and maybe Andrea at more events.
That's the goal. We'll try. Again, we're playing another event in a week. We had another one planned in May. It's actually funny because now like my chess and poker schedule kind of goes side by side sometimes. So like there will be a month where I'll be playing WSOP because once again, I just haven't loved the game as much as I've loved poker since I started playing chess. And it's like, I play poker for 14 hours. I'm like, where did the time go? Like, I just had so much fun. That being said, chess is still the priority. So yes, all of these things are happening.
It's fascinating. We spoke for like 25 minutes. I think I got an insight into the world of your content creation, how you work, how your mind works. And I think it's very nice and it's very good for the chess world that you're putting in so much of your thought behind this. And I hope that there is more collaboration that happens what you did in Prague here.
I hope so. Like, I'm excited to put these videos out and like, yeah, I'm excited. I feel really energized and optimistic in a way I haven't for a long time. And the only reason I was able to get here is because I had to do a lot of soul searching and be like, what am I actually spending my time on? Like, it's not like I've made like a crazy bank or anything. Like, yes, I'm comfortable, but it's to the point where I don't want to be motivated just by finances. I want to be motivated by, I care what I'm working on and I could see myself doing this for the next however long period of time.
And finally, I want to ask you if there's any kind of advice that you would like to give to budding content creators, because there are many people who want to take this up, who see chess as a possibility to create more content around and build their life around it, maybe make a living through it. What would it be?
You can't get good at content right off the bat usually. If you're the best chess player in the world, like Magnus, if you just show up, of course you're going to get views. But if you're like a 250 best player in the world, which is incredible, that's not going to be enough to get views. So I think for people like that, they need to realize that if they're going to get into content, it's a really big time investment to do. And I think the question is like, why are you trying to get into content? What are you trying to get out of it? I think if you start content for the purpose of I'm just trying to make money or something like that, it's not going to work and you're going to give up. I think you really have to start doing content because you're like, I like doing this. This is something I enjoy. This is part of my brand building. Or, get a team to do it and hope for the best, which is not the best way to do it. I'd just like to say that content in itself is its own profession. And it's competitive and hard. And I've seen so many good GMs, but not top GMs, try to do it and then give up after a while because the hours are too intense. And if that's the case, then maybe that's not what you should have been doing to start with. I don't think that was motivating, but I'm a realist. And I think people need to know that it takes work. Otherwise people are going to waste their time and that's worse. Like somebody needs to tell you the truth. Like if you're doing content because you're like, I love streaming, great. Like maybe it'll grow from that, because if you're truly passionate and you're doing it because you love it, people can tell. But if you're doing it because you're trying to extract value from people or like build something for yourself, it's not going to work. It's really saturated right now.
True, yes. It is getting saturated, the chess content creation side as well, because if the number of viewers don't grow and the content creators keep growing, it's not going to be good for anyone.
No, if I wanted to break into content, I was like, I really like content, I'd find a top creator, do free work for them, and try to learn from them, because you're going to get by so much faster that way.
Brilliant. Alexandra, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you good luck for your next events, Reykjavik, and thank you for all that you do for the chess world and so much of chess.
We're trying.
It's fantastic. Keep going.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sagar.